Since their inception, with Dominion commonly agreed upon as the progenitor of the genre, there have been approximately 3 billion deck-building games. And while some early attempts did try to stray from the formula, the market quickly got saturated with thinly veiled cash grabs capitalizing on a theme with very little thought to the substance within. Believe me, I've been the proud owner of The Hobbit, the movie, the deck-building game. At this point, wary gamers have largely strayed away from deck-building as a genre unto itself, with the most popular games to feature this build-a-deck-as-you-play mechanism, using it as merely a supplementary aspect of the game. And while there have been some notable highlights of pure deck building goodness over the last couple of years, with Mystic Vale and its translucent card building madness to SPQF and its subsequent re-release as Fort, it wasn't until now that a true, honest-to-goodness, big-box, multiplayer, pure deck-building game has come along that has gotten me excited about the genre again. So, let's talk about Moonrakers.
In Moonrakers, you are the captain of a spaceship doing classic scoundrelly space stuff, picking up missions, earning cash, outfitting your loadout with new equipment and crew, not worrying about the moral justification of your exploits. So more Cowboy Bebop than it is The Expanse. All players start with the same loadout of 10 cards comprised of shields, reactors, thrusters, damage, and a mist to work with. As the game goes on, unique crew cards will be added to your deck and the purchase of new ship equipment, while granting persistent ongoing abilities, will usually add some more of the basic cards to your deck.
Which is good, because in the first inversion of classic deck building design philosophy, the basic cards, they're your workhorses. Not only do they have individual abilities that are very important to utilize, but they also contribute their symbols, their colors, in order to complete the missions that you're going to go on, which are your primary source of points, money, and ultimately leading to more cards to add to your deck and your loadout, which that whole ecosystem of mission cards and your ability to interact with them is the other half of this game.
On your turn, you can choose to go to any of the face-up missions on the board. These show an array of symbols and colors denoting how potentially damaging it'll be in the way of point-reducing hazard dice, what of the basic card types will need to be played, and what your rewards will be when completed. The thing is, even at the end of the game, some of these will be way too beastly for you to conquer on your own, so as the mission leader, meaning it's your turn, you can negotiate with other players for them to join you, committing any amount of the spoils to them in return for taking on some or all of the hazard dice and/or playing cards to contribute to the success of the mission.
And you may be like, I've played deck building games, I know how this works. I'm just going to play all my cards and then draw into more cards and cycle through my deck until all the cards come out on the table and I'll be able to complete everything on my own because I'm a cardboard wielding god, which is partially true. You may be able to reach that sort of efficiency in this game, but in one of the most brain-burning and coolest aspects that Moonrakers has to offer, you can only play one action on your turn, and playing a card is a single action. Let's take a look at that system. Okay, so let's say that I'm on this mission here, and because it has one hazard, I need to roll a hazard die. I got the maximum roll of 2, which is bad news bears for me because I'll lose 2 points after the mission is completed if I don't mitigate this hazard somehow. Now, in playing cards, I could just play a thruster to draw 2 more cards, which sounds great. That's a typical deck building awesomeness thing, except for I only have one and only one action, and that would be it. I could play no further cards on my turn. So instead, I start by playing this reactor, which gives me +2 actions, one of which I make this thruster, and I get to draw 2 cards, leaving me with this extra action here. And I could play another thruster, completing the mission. However, I would still have to deal with the 2 hazard dice here. So instead, I'm going to play another reactor, giving me 2 more actions I can play, one of which is the necessary thruster, drawing me 2 more cards, which is always handy and gives me options. And then I'm going to play this crew member who has a special ability to negate one hazard. He would contribute by reducing shield requirements if there were any on this mission, but more importantly, he gives me either +1 card or +1 action. Because I don't want to stop all of my actions here, I'm going to give myself 1 extra shield, which negates the other hazard on this dice. I've negated both hazards, I have fulfilled my 2 thruster and 1 reactor requirement, and so now I have completed this mission, getting 1 point and 2 money. If I had any other cards in my hand, then I wouldn't be able to play them because I've exhausted all my actions. And yeah, unique crew members and the equipment loadout on your ship can all play into this, but the point is that this game is very restrictive in what you play, when you play it, and what sort of things you're going to be able to tackle all on your own. In most cases, that's really satisfying, but it can take a degree of compartmentalization in order to wrap your brain around it, and I have seen some players, including myself, struggle to be able to accurately plan ahead based off of what you have in your hand. Fortunately though, the penalty for failing a mission is just that you missed out on its rewards and the point loss of any unmitigated hazard dice that you have to deal with. From there, once you've fully resolved everything to deal with the mission and your success or failure, then you just finish out your turn by a market phase where you can purchase new crew members and equipment, and then it's the next player's turn. You keep doing that until someone reaches 10 points by the end of a turn, and that's it. It's very, very cool.
From its oh-so-well integrated theme featuring inky blacks and blues against neon highlights for a lo-fi HUD aesthetic, to its free and flexible negotiations, to the outstanding components including metal coins in every box, to the refreshing restraint in having a deck-building game primarily focused on the acquisition and removal of the same basic cards your starting deck is used for, Moonrakers has charmed me. While not wholly original in any one part, the game feels so cohesive, especially for a debut game from what is otherwise a graphic design and animation studio. And I had my hesitations too. At first, I thought the negotiation aspect would add too much social subjectivity to the game, but by keeping it based around fixed quantities and commitments, it turned out more utilitarian and, in truth, to a degree bypassable. With enough upgrades and the right loadout, eventually most players will be able to solo mid-range missions that play to their strengths, and the ability to pay coins to cycle missions, crew, and equipment on display empowers players and helps a market from growing stale. And best of all, the negotiations are a balancing tool, a self-regulating catch-up mechanic where lower point players can collude, leaving the lead to fend for themselves. And in practice, while there is some room for a little bit of skullduggery and backstabbing by way of agreeing to go on a mission and ultimately not playing cards, by making the rewards tied to success of the mission and keeping the penalties for failure relatively low, it does seem like the game encourages collaboration where some other games with semi-cooperative elements falter. What I felt would be one of the clunkiest aspects of the game turned out to be fluid, interesting, and rewarding.
It isn't without its drawbacks, though. As I said, the mental gymnastics involved in planning and playing out your turn can be taxing. Rewarding, yeah, but certainly beyond the expectations of classic DBGs. Also, 2 players, just okay. Both solo and 2-player have a cycling mercenary deck where players can collaborate with each other or commit mission rewards for the temporary aid of the mercenary cards on display, which is a cool idea but works much better with the surprisingly good solo mode where it can be part of the thoughtful, contemplative puzzle, but I found it a bit too obtuse, slowing down the momentum of the game at 2. I mean, it's fine, I'd play it more at 2, but this is definitely a game that has a big benefit from playing at 3 and up. But where it shines like a pulsing star against the blackness of space. As someone who has felt so exhausted by this genre over the last several years, I was genuinely surprised by this release. Thoughtfully interactive, beautifully presented, creatively challenging, Moonrakers is exactly what you'd miss most if you were out traveling the void, a breath of fresh air. And that's our review. All right, everyone, let me know if you played this game, what you think, how you felt about deck building games over the years, if there are particular highlights that you think that I should look into, if you have mainstay favorites, or what you ended up turning to when you felt the genre getting stale, and if there was something that you felt brought you back. I want to hear all about it in the comments below, and as always, thank you so much for watching, thanks for your support, thanks for commenting and doing all the things. Go out, game, have fun, enjoy. I've been Jack for the Cardboard Herald.